Welcome everyone to another Good Vibes Gaming discussion. I'm your host, Derek Bittner, and I'm joined once again by my good friends and GVG co-founders, Steve Bowling and Ash Polson, and it's time to talk Smash Brothers. We're only a few days away from the final character being revealed via Sakurai's presentation, and we gotta talk about who it could be. But here's the thing. We've talked at length about who we think it's going to be, who we think it's going to be, who we want it to be. And that hasn't really changed. So what more can we say? Well, not a lot, but we do fortunately have patrons. And we wanted to offer it up like who they think it's going to be and talk about the chances of that character actually making it in. So I thought that'd be a lot of fun. A lot of different characters being offered up that we might not think of or something to that effect. And before we start that off though, real quick, just who do we want? Our last desire, just for those who might not know, what character do we want? Ash, I don't think we have to ask, but I'm going to do it anyway. Who do you want as the final Smash character?
Oh wait, sorry. What? I'm too busy over here crying about the end of Smash Ultimate. Sorry. Sora. You guys know. I want Sora from Kingdom Hearts as the last character. I don't necessarily expect it to be him. I think it's a very slim chance. But Sora is my last remaining slightly realistic dream character. So Sora is who I want.
Okay. What about you, Steve?
I mean, I've been saying it for years at this point. I want Travis Touchdown. And I know it's not, just like Sora, I firmly believe it's not happening. But, I mean, if I got what I wanted, it would be him.
Nice. And for me, I thought about that because I'm happy with a lot of characters, but ultimately I have to choose Eggman. It feels weird that he's barely represented in Smash Ultimate, and I feel like he has a decent chance, but I'm also not hopeful, but I also don't know who I'm hopeful for as far as like who has a good chance at this point. It's sort of just like they might have a good chance, they might not have a good chance. I don't know. It's Schrodinger's Smash character at this point.
It's true. Yeah, Eggman's a weird one because like Wily is an assist trophy, and Wily's like he's an important villain, but he's not quite Eggman level. But Eggman's not even an assist trophy. It's just weird how that worked out.
Not an assist trophy, not a boss. He only got a spirit. That feels weird.
Yeah.
It really does. I wonder if for some reason Sega just kind of limited which characters they would allow into Smash, because I feel like Sakurai would have wanted Eggman in Smash. Like if he's not the final character, which I'm going to be honest, I don't think he is either. But if he was not the final character, it would be weird that such an iconic villain in gaming history just kind of got, relegated to being an also-ran, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Be kind of odd, but it wouldn't be that surprising, to be honest. I guess we'll find out. But let's go ahead and get to our patron suggestion. And first up, we got two different people, Dan Palmer and Mamo DXX, with the same suggestion. And that is an E.M.M.I from Metroid Dread.
Which, I mean, it would certainly be topical, right? I mean, it would,
right.
With Metroid Dread coming out just 4 days after Smash Ultimate's, final character, but I don't know how much they could have really planned that either. When they were, these characters were probably locked in over a year ago, I would think. So they would have had to be, I think. So I don't know if that could be planned out all that in advance, but it would be cool just to have a Metroid rep be the final one, but because we got Ridley already, I kind of don't think that's going to be the case. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, the E.M.M.I is an interesting character, but none of us have like an existing tie to that specific enemy because it's new in Dread. I just don't see. I disagree on the planning aspect only because I have the feeling that Sakurai is in a position to know what
That's
Nintendo
true.
is working on, so he was likely aware of Metroid Dread long before most of us. And had they wanted to include it, they would have had ample time. Plus, at the beginning of the Fighters Pass 2 announcement, they said, Sakurai was like, Nintendo decided the characters. Nintendo decided.
Good point. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, the decision makers definitely knew. But like, E.M.M.I isn't a character that would really hold anything special for anybody yet, right? Maybe in a few years after Dread is long in our memories, then I could see that making sense. But as much as I think an E.M.M.I would be interesting. I think it'd make a better assist trophy than a character.
Yeah, I think something that
Yeah.
would hunt down another player and instant kill him is much better. Like, it's slow, but if it catches you, you're in trouble because it doesn't really have a moveset. I mean, you could give it punches and kicks and whatnot, but from everything we've seen so far in Dread, and of course there's the possibility of much more being there to these Emmys, they seem to crawl, be unstoppable, and insta-kill. That's about it. We don't see any kind of other moves. They might be there, but we don't know. And because of that, I don't think it has a great chance. I think it's going to be iconic. There's something immediately recognizable. I think in the same way as Dark Samus or even the SAX. It's just like, oh, this is unstoppable force that you got to take down. It makes sense in that way, but I think it's a little too limited.
Sure.
Yeah.
That said, though, I do think we are going to see an Emmy in Smash by way of a Spirit event. I feel unless the final character literally is like the last thing they're doing for Smash, and I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to get a Metroid Dread Spirit event, and an Emmy Spirit will be part of that.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's highly likely, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Dan Palmer himself, though, just real quick, just to pop it in, because I think this is an interesting suggestion I've seen around quite a bit. The Shin Megami Tensei 5 protagonist.
This is one I'm on board with.
Yeah.
While it does kind of fly in the face of my E.M.M.I argument, because we're not attached to the Shin Megami Tensei 5 protagonist either. However, they have been bombarding us with trailers and information about this game. It's very clear that Nintendo and Atlus really want this to do well. And this is a game that has been, it was one of the first games announced for the Switch. So clearly the knowledge about it has been out there long enough for them to make a moveset. And the thing that I really find interesting about it is it ticks that box for me of being just the right amount of frustrating for a Smash announcement. Because we all know how tired people are of quote unquote anime sword fighters, and that's exactly what this is.
I mean, at least it's built into his arm, but yeah. It's also our best chance of getting Jack Frost represented. That's sort of the mascot of Shin Megami Tensei, and having Jack Frost be a character that's equipped to this protagonist makes sense. Plus, he just has a cool look, and I can almost see them. I don't know how the whole Nahabino thing works for the protagonist, but to have it almost kind of work like Arsene. Where he'll not always be in that form could make it interesting. I doubt it. He'll probably always be in the Nahabino form to make him, since that's his combat form. But I feel like there's a lot that you can do with the protagonist of SMT5. That said, I think it might be a little too recent to make that work. I think they only get sort of that pre-production stuff for Nintendo properties, like Sakurai being able to play through Fire Emblem Three Houses much earlier in order to get Byleth ready. But then I don't know if Atlus would be like, yeah, come in here and play this, Sakurai.
Well, and not just that, but I feel like the Shin Megami Tensei 5's protagonist's chances are diminished for much the same reason I unfortunately feel Sora's chances are diminished. I think Sephiroth getting into Fighters Pass, Volume 2 already kind of does hurt Sora's chances, and I think Joker already being in the game kind of hurts SMT5's protag's chances. Obviously, I know SMT is different from Persona, and Persona is actually the spinoff, but I just don't really see them putting both a Persona and a core Shin Megami Tensei character in the roster. That's just personally how I feel about it, so I don't see that as likely, but it would be cool. I don't have a lot of personal attachment to the character. As you said, Steve, none of us really do yet. How could we? The game's not out yet. But it would be a wild, kind of out of left field pick, for sure.
Absolutely. Another kind of, most of these are going to be wild out there picks, but I do kind of like the idea of this one. 60 minutes and 60 seconds suggesting Paper Mario.
I love that. I have gone on record and said that I really hope the last character isn't a Mario character, a Fire Emblem character, or a Pokemon character, and I still feel that way. But I can't help just loving the idea of not only Paper Mario's incredibly unique moveset. I think they could do a lot of cool things with it, but just the fact that we could get more Paper Mario music in Smash, especially from Origami King. Give me all the Origami King music in Smash. That would be so hype. But yeah, I mean, it's not impossible. It is, it's Mario. It's, Mr. Nintendo.
I mean, there's 3 variations of Link. Might as well have 3 variations of Mario.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. What say you, Steve?
I feel like I just do not want another Mario character. Do I think it's possible? Yeah. I mean, I would even slot it into probable category just because, I mean, Nintendo really likes to throw us curveballs with these. But I feel like when I keep going back to the line of it being marketing focused, right? And I can't think of a Mario thing besides Mario Party, which I don't think they'd promote via Smash. But I can't think of a Mario thing that has happened recently enough to warrant, another Mario character, let alone Paper Mario. Like you said, Origami King is a year old at this point. So it just, to me, it wouldn't line up. It wouldn't make a ton of sense. In fact, what is pushing me towards Shin Megami Tensei 5 is because it is coming very soon and it is a high-profile game. And I could see them using the protagonist being in Smash as a vehicle to promote the game releasing a month after that. But yeah, I just can't see Paper Mario happening. I truly hope that it doesn't, which means that there's a good chance it will.
Yeah. It's really just the music aspect for me and the creativity or the potential creativity of the moveset. On principle, I agree with you, Steve. I really do hope it's not a Mario character. I just don't think that would be a particularly exciting way to end things off, especially considering we already got Piranha Plant. And that's a fun, weird pick that nobody saw coming, but I feel like we're good with Mario now. And there's another Mario character who's going to come up in this discussion later and we're going to get to, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it'd be the animations, like seeing his recovery be like the paper airplane or stuff like that. There's be some fun, like his dodge being him going, like shifting to being razor thin. There's fun ideas there. But I don't think it has a good chance. It could happen, but I don't know if they go the Paper Mario route. I think it'd just be another Mario character.
So, yeah, agreed.
Yep. All right, next up is one that came up a lot. 4 different people mentioned this character, so it's a pretty common pick. Joseph Rutkin, Classy Mudkip 7, Big Z, and Roman Klachinski all think it's going to be Master Chief.
Man, this is the rumor that won't die.
I know.
I mean, we've been hearing for years now that Master Chief Collection is coming to Switch. I would personally really love to see Master Chief in Smash. I feel like he is one of the few iconic gaming characters that hasn't gotten a seat at the table yet. And but I also wonder if maybe Nintendo spent all their negotiating power on getting Banjo and Kazooie. Because I don't know how Microsoft gives up like their primary mascot. Like Master Chief is basically Xbox. Like he is the Xbox brand, and I can't without a game to tie him to on the Switch. I do not see Microsoft giving him up, and I think it'd be great, but I just don't see it happening.
I think it'd be a lot of fun. It definitely appeals to the Western audience more than the Japanese audience, I believe. So I think that's a big stake in that goodwill. Well, not goodwill, but in that possibility, I guess is the better way to put it. It's just like, I feel like they want to appeal to as many regions as possible, and Master Chief might not achieve that. Likely doesn't achieve that. But Microsoft is also kind of protective of Master Chief because Spartan was a guest character, and I think Dead or Alive 3 or 4. I want to say 4. But it was not Master Chief. It was some random female Spartan that you could tell, but that was them instead. So it's not like Master Chief gets farmed out to a lot of other projects. It's more the Spartans themselves. Right. Master Chief is this very special character, and granted, I think Smash Brothers is special enough to allow it, but I don't know if the Japanese interest in it is strong enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I mean, I would put Master Chief's chances at like slightly above Sora's, and that's really mainly just because Master Chief doesn't have Disney holding him under lock and key. I think it's possible only because there is an existing, obviously, amicable relationship between Nintendo and Microsoft. So and the splash screen, as people have pointed it out, sells itself. Master Chief finishes the fight. It's really too perfect.
It really is.
That said, I personally, I get that he deserves to be here, and it would be hype for so many people. I personally am not a big Halo guy, so I can't say I'd be particularly thrilled, but I totally would get, how exciting and how momentous the occasion is, and would certainly be really happy for his fans and really happy for Halo fans, and it would be a huge deal to have Master Chief in Smash. I just personally wouldn't be that excited, but I don't think it's impossible. I do think there is a chance we could see Master Chief on Tuesday.
It's possible,
small chance.
Another thing that kind of inhibits that is that Microsoft, this would be their third character. They got Banjo. True. They got Steve. I can't, and that's already in this pack with Steve. I don't know if they would get a third.
That's also a good point.
Yeah, that is a pretty valid assertion. That I can't think of them getting 3 characters in the DLC. That would be a lot. I feel like that would be over-representation almost at that point. I get that Master Chief is iconic, but with Steve and Banjo, and I think that Banjo was probably the better choice for the Smash audience.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, like I said, unless Microsoft surprises us and just shadow drops Master Chief Collection on Switch, they won't. That would be the only way I'd see this making sense.
Yeah.
But he's one of the most popular choices among our patrons, though, because there were even, and I know there were a few patrons put forth multiple choices, but there were like Classy Mudkip and Titus Malvolio and like even Young Ben Kenobi. So many people put forth Master Chief. He's clearly a very popular pick.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, continuing on the Microsoft train, rather than Master Chief, DJ Andy D thinks it might be Ori. From And I have to basically put it again, Microsoft, indie, well, not kind of indie, and I don't know if the characters built up that much appeal yet.
Yeah, I just don't know if the character has enough of a legacy yet, to be honest. Ori's, the games are gorgeous, and Ori, the character itself, is a very appealing design, and I know it's a very popular character among fans of the game, but I just don't know if it's really penetrated enough of the wider audience, really. I mean, Steve is really the biggest indie character that we got in Smash. We ended up not getting Shantae. We ended up not getting Sans. We got him as Mii Fighter costumes, but not full characters. And Ori is, compared to Steve, a very small deal character. And so I feel like if Minecraft is the bar for indie representation, Ori just doesn't quite clear that, unfortunately, even though I like the idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Ori to me, even though both Ori games are on Switch and they're fantastic games, not to disparage the games themselves at all, but I just don't see it as, I don't know. I agree with Ash. It's not a big enough character to really not only be a Smash character in general, but to be the final one. I think it just wouldn't have the impact. I think if Ori or someone like that were the final character, we wouldn't be getting like a separate presentation just to announce them. Mm-hmm. I think Nintendo would have been like, yeah, it's Ori, here you go, in the direct we just had.
I can see that.
Yeah.
All right, well, moving on, I don't think there's too much else to say because a lot of that overlaps with Master Chief, but Itiono Ben thinks it could be Waddle Dee, or I think they might also mean, they specifically said Waddle Dee, but I have a feeling it may mean more Bandana Waddle Dee, because Waddle Dee on his own, not much of a moveset, but when you give him that bandana, then he opens up the possibilities. And you know what? With Kirby and the Forgotten Land getting announced, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to say I would have written this off before the direct, but now I think there's a distinct possibility for another Kirby rep. Just because this looks like it's going to be Nintendo's big game following Dread, and that would be a good one to promote, especially because Kirby is a series that maybe a lot of folks haven't played or interacted with, and now it's getting like a big, what looks to be AAA game. So it would make sense to get some more representation for Kirby out there, and it would be throwing Sakurai a bone since that's his franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's what's interesting is that, like, as you pointed out earlier, Steve, we know that Fighters Pass Volume 2's characters were picked essentially by Nintendo, and yet we also know Sakurai has not really been want to promote the later Kirby games in Smash. Like, basically, most of the vast majority of the Kirby content in Smash is pulled from Sakurai's own Kirby games, the classic Kirby games. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it would be really interesting for him to have Nintendo essentially ask him, go back to it. This is your baby, this is your franchise, even though you're not working on it anymore. And, there's basically no Planet Robobot content, no Triple Deluxe, no Star Allies. So that would be an interesting twist for sure.
It would. It's sort of on the line with Bandana Waddle Dee because the character design debuted in Superstar, but he wasn't given his moveset until Return to Dreamland. So it's a character that originated with Sakurai, but didn't get fleshed out until after Sakurai. And that's a weird combination to have there. But I think the big thing that makes me excited for him is that, it's more Kirby representation. Yeah, it's cute as all get out, but that spear makes him so unique, and his moveset is just built into this whole thing. He has a recovery. He has his moves. Thanks to the ways Kirby is sort of set up, he's good to go. But whether it actually happens, I don't think so, but I'd be down with it.
Yeah, I would be. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be my first choice. I don't find Bandana Waddle Dee as a character to be that interesting, and this goes back to when we were doing the Judge Hand stuff, which was a lot of fun. But I love Kirby, though, and it would bring us more Kirby music and another Kirby stage, and that would always, I'll always take more Kirby content. But the character itself, there are other Kirby characters I would rather see take a new slot, especially as the final character. And just to, and we won't spend any time on this, but just to touch on your other suggestion, Itiono Ben, Saber's an anime character. There's zero chance, in my opinion, I think all our opinions, that an anime character will get into Smash, because Sakurai himself has pretty much said the one line, the one unbreakable rule is that they have to be a video game original character. So same thing with Goku, right?
Yep. Exactly.
If you're going to put an anime character in and it isn't Goku, I will riot.
Exactly. It would have to, if it was ever going to be an anime character.
If it wasn't going to be Goku, it'd be Luffy.
Yeah,
exactly.
I could definitely see Luffy taking it if they ever broke the rule, but I just don't see him doing it.
Nope. Same.
Yeah. Maybe in the eventual Smash reboot, because I feel like that's what happens after this.
No, okay. We'll see. But, time for another wah, as Danilo Amini believes there's a good chance it could be Waluigi.
There is a non-zero chance, and that is too much for me. I do think there is at least a chance, and I'm going to be completely honest. No hate to Waluigi fans out there. I will be a good sport about it if it is Waluigi, but that, for me personally, is the worst case scenario. I so hope it's not Waluigi. I hope not.
Yeah, for me, it's not so much that I dislike Waluigi. I don't have strong feelings about the character Waluigi one way or the other. I just don't want to deal with, like, the explosion on Twitter about Waluigi, because it'll get weird and gross, and I won't want to be there for it. But yeah, I agree that there's a non-zero chance, but I think, we talked earlier about a Mario character. Waluigi clearly falls under that umbrella, but he would be such a disappointing choice. Like, it wouldn't even be a weird choice. It would just be like Luigi, but weirder. And I feel like that's just not what I want.
Yeah, I mean, the advantage of Waluigi is that he would reference all the Mario side games. He'd have tennis, he'd have golf, and Peach has a little bit of that himself, but he could do like Mario Party moves and things to that degree. There's ways to make his moveset interesting, but I don't know if I necessarily see it happening, because it does ostensibly break one of the rules that we've dealt with. And again, Sakurai doesn't really deal with rules, but Waluigi is already an assist trophy, And I don't think it, matters in the grand scheme of things, but I do think that lessens his chances. And I just don't see them going for it quite that way. Like, Waluigi is a cult favorite, but I don't think he has the reach and the love and the adoration that a lot of these other choices have in that way. But I could be wrong, I don't know.
I also don't really see what skin and Nintendo has in that game. Why would Nintendo want to use this last character to promote essentially a side character in the Mario franchise when they could just as easily have a character that would just have such a bigger splash outside of one very specific fan base, right? And yeah, it's just like, I know there are perfectly well-meaning Waluigi fans out there, and I will be a good sport for those of you out there if that's what ends up happening, but I just hope it isn't. And I think there is a chance, but I don't think Nintendo... I don't think there is any good reason for Nintendo to pick Waluigi as the final character.
Right. All right. Well, moving on, we have a few people kind of agreeing with you, Ash. Titus Malvolio and Young Ben Kenobi hope/think it could be Sora.
I love both of you. You're after my own heart. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on this because I've mentioned also BlazeStar25 mentioned Sora as well. I love you guys. Thank you. I do think there is a chance, a very small chance, but I think there's a chance. But I would have thought that chance would be bigger if we didn't already get Sephiroth. I have a feeling, we've all heard the rumors that Nintendo tried to approach Disney and maybe got turned down. Who knows if they're true? Who knows? But I feel like maybe they got Sephiroth instead. I don't know, but I think there's a chance, and it would be tremendously internet breaking if that were to happen. That would be such a tremendous way to end off Smash, but...
I mean, he was trending today on Twitter for some reason. I don't know why. And when I looked through the hashtag, it was mostly people expressing major disappointment that if it was Sora. So that would definitely be the divisive character to be either like there'd be a lot of people celebrating, a lot of people upset. I mean, that's going to happen with any character, and
that's going to be every single character.
I think no matter. It feels like almost more so if it is Sora.
Yeah, I genuinely don't think there is a single character that exists in this universe, in this universe, that would not be divisive in terms of making some people really happy and disappointing the hell out of other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I personally, I'd be happy for all the Sora fans out there, but I wouldn't care much for them.
Sure.
Just as I'm certain that if Travis Touchdown got in, folks like me would be happy, but there'd be an equal, if not larger number of folks that aren't interested.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. You know what? We should have more suggestions, but I just want to say, like, Sora, the reason I'm kind of, I'll be interested to see, because Sora is the only one out of this list we've mentioned so far that at least has some kind of evidence to it. And I use the word evidence incredibly loosely, but, we do have that 4chan post from July saying that Nintendo secured rights to use Disney music on an October 5th presentation. And, which of course in and of itself is not
So here's a question. I don't know. I don't remember the trailer that specifically, but Disney's Magical World 2 was revealed at the Direct. Could the Direct have initially been there and moved up but they left the Sakurai Presents there instead? I don't know, but that would be an explanation in my opinion.
Yeah.
I also,
go ahead.
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
I was going to say that's 100% accurate. I don't know for a fact that Disney music was there. I was not listening that closely to that portion of the Direct because I was like, oh, a Disney game. All right, cool. But that is a plausible explanation. And again, it's entirely possible that this person on 4chan was just making stuff up. But I mean, it is worth kind of considering that, it is weird to pick a date out of thin air and then have it be the actual date of the reveal of the final Smash character.
Right. Well,
so
apparently
so
apparently there's someone on Twitter. I heard this yesterday, I think, Apparently there's someone on Twitter who's been, I can't verify this, I haven't, but they're claiming to be that 4chan poster, and if they say they just picked that date because they thought it would be funny as it was PlayStation All-Stars, Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl's release date. Who knows if that person is the same person? They might just be taking the piss out of Sora fans. It's 4chan, so it's impossible to verify if these are the same person, right? But there's also another 4chan post who we don't know if it's the same person or not, who said the same thing about Disney Music and Nintendo, but said it was going to be used for a September thing, and that would have been wrong. So I feel like there are just as many reasons to be a little doubtful of that rumor as there are reasons to think it could be legit.
Oh, I mean, to be clear, I firmly believe it's not real. But it is the only character of this list we've talked about that has something going on beyond just speculation.
Right.
Yep.
Well, here's hoping for me, at least. I hear you guys, and Sora Gang unite, and my friends are my power, and let's hope. We'll see.
Give up hope. Anyway.
Jeez,
I would freak out just as much as you, Ash, but
heartless over here, man.
My expectations are set. I'll say that right now. I just think he has no chance.
I gotcha.
But what do we think of the chances of Kilomox's suggestion, Marx from Kirby? And
that's good.
Well, I was going to say I'm going to dash their hopes too. It's a boss already. I don't think.
Yeah, I think because it's already a boss, I don't see it happening. At the same time, though, that's what I was kind of hinting at when I said there are other Kirby characters I would like to see occupy a final Smash slot over Bandana Waddle Dee, and Marx is one of those characters. I think it'd be really cool, personally, and we'd get more Kirby content, and Marx is a cool character. I love his design, but he is a boss already, and I think that kind of kills his chances.
Yeah, I can't see them taking a boss and then repurposing them as a playable character. If they did that, it should be Master Hand.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, I think so too. Master Hand would probably be first in line to bring Smash full circle. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Plus, I think you get to do more with Marx as a boss. Like you could have a very fun moveset with Marx, but him being a boss feels more appropriate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I agree.
Yep. All right. Well, moving on to Skull Kid Tiger and Blaze-Star 25. Both think Kratos could be the final Smash character. Yep. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't see it happening.
I think one expressed confusion to why it couldn't be Kratos, and best I can say is think how often Sony enjoys doing crossplay. I don't think they would actually share their character. There is literally nothing in it for Sony. Sony does not like to work together. There is no relationship between Nintendo and Sony. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say the same for literally any PlayStation character. It's just Sony doesn't have the desire to partner with Nintendo on seemingly anything. And it kind of makes sense. They're both big Japanese companies. The fact that Sony is in games is born from the fact that Nintendo slighted them to begin with.
Good point.
So I could just never see. The only reason I entertained the idea of Microsoft characters, and we do have two of them now, but before that was because Sony and Microsoft were very publicly cozying up to each other.
Oh, you mean Nintendo and Microsoft?
Or I'm sorry, Nintendo and Microsoft. Yeah, we're very publicly getting cozy in an attempt to belittle Sony. They're like, look at how you can play Minecraft, and stuff like that, just to use the fact that they both were okay with crossplay to kind of take the wind out of Sony's sails a bit. So, yeah, I don't see them mending fences and putting a character in Smash anytime soon.
Agreed. I mean, it's Smash, so the impossible sometimes does become possible. But I would put any PlayStation character at an even lower chance of happening than Sora. I just really think it's next to just never going to happen.
The reason a lot of people put Crash forward is people associate with Sony, but he's owned by Activision, and that has its own issues nowadays. But that's why it's actually possible to have Crash. But who knows?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we have Crash games on the Switch right now.
That too.
Yeah.
That too. Well, speaking of M-rated characters, Jared Edinger has a different suggestion. A character from Dark Souls, whether it's the Chosen Undead, Soltaire, or something to that effect. And maybe, but I also think It'd be cool, but I don't necessarily know if that character would be fun to play. Because when I think of Dark Souls characters, I think of slow, purposeful, not very momentum based, and that's very opposite of Smash.
True, but we also have seen how Sakurai and his team can take characters who feel like they come from games that shouldn't work in Smash, like Steve, and make them work in the context of Smash.
True.
I actually feel like there's an okay chance that this could happen. I personally wouldn't be for it. I don't find Dark Souls character designs to be very interesting myself. That said, it's a monumentally popular franchise. Soltaire already has his own amiibo. I don't of all the suggestions that have been put forth, I feel like a Dark Souls character. While I don't think that's going to be what happens, I could see it. It's I could totally see it.
I don't see this happening. The reason why is Dark Souls characters lack characterization. Like, there's nothing really unique about a Dark Souls character. Other than the whole praise the sun thing. They don't stand out. And the franchise, while, like you said, I agree, massively popular, it's just not one that I would see being for instance, take a Dark Souls character, Soltaire, right? He's head to toe covered in armor, doesn't talk, but you could say very similar things about Master Chief, right? Head to toe armor, doesn't talk a lot. But the difference is that Master Chief is headlining a franchise that is beyond huge, that represents an entire brand. Whereas Dark Souls, I think, is a bit too niche to really have their bland character design overcome that and become something bigger. I just don't see. I mean, the only thing that kind of nudges me towards it being a non-zero chance is that it is a Bamco character. And I could see them getting the last character just because they've been doing the heavy lifting on building the game. But even then, I'm really doubtful.
Well, would they get the last two characters, though? Because they just got Kazuya.
Well, that's true.
Yeah. That is
so
true.
I feel like, having the last two in a row might be a bit much. Plus, I didn't even think about this, but we already have a character in Smash who praises the sun. And that's, of course, Wii Fit Trainer. It's one of her moves. She salutes the sun.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a great chance, but I wouldn't discount it, but it just seems very unlikely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Jeroen 7X with one I've seen a lot of people put out, not from our patrons, but just in general out there. I think a lot of people want to see this character. 2B from Nier Automata. And that'd be really cool, having a second Platinum character finish off a set of characters. But again, it's Square. And
right.
Maybe, but hard. It's a tough sell.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2B faces the same barrier Sora does with whether they're already being a Square Enix character in Sephiroth, and I would be so hyped for that. Let me be very clear. I adore Nier Automata. I love that game. I love 2B. I love the character. I would love to see her in Smash, get some Nier music in there, but I think if there was going to be another Square Enix character, I think Sora takes precedence for sure. And even he, I think, faces the barrier of Sephiroth already having gotten in. And so 2B, I just feel like would be further back in line.
See, the problem I have, and I agree with almost everything you said, Ash. 2B is a character that I personally would really love to see in Smash. I think she'd make a great addition to the roster. She has a unique appearance, great music that could be added. Stage design would be really great.
Yeah.
But I agree that I think that, letting Square, have this many characters seems not like something that's going to happen. It feels like Square's tougher than most to negotiate with. We've all heard rumblings about how hard it was to get Cloud in Smash, let alone Sephiroth. So I can't imagine, Square knows how popular Nier is and how popular 2B the character is. And I bet they would come up with some real onerous terms to get her into the game.
Maybe, but it's also like 2B does show up in a lot of things. Like she's in Fall Guys.
Too. The problem I have though is that I keep getting stuck with the fact that Nintendo called the shots on this and Sakurai didn't. And what would Nintendo's reasoning be for wanting 2B if there's no Nier game on the Switch and none coming that we're aware of?
Yeah, that's also a good point.
I mean, you could say the same about Joker, but at least I guess we got Persona 5 Strikers, but even that took a little while. So,
is there a character in Smash who is just not represented on the Switch at all, or on a Nintendo console?
Joker comes close, but he does technically appear in the Persona Q games.
Well,
and
he's
of
in
course,
Strikers.
Persona Strikers.
Yeah,
and Strikers as well. Yeah. So beyond that, though, I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
I mean,
back when Smash 4 came out, Cloud, you could make that argument, but then he appeared in Theater Rhythm, and now FF7's on Switch.
Yeah, Tekken to a degree, but that is, again, the Tekken Tag 2 was on Wii U and whatnot. Fatal Fury, but again, that's re-releases. There's some that's on the cusp, but nothing quite where there's just no representation whatsoever.
Yeah, see, and that's where I struggle, because 2B is not in anything that I'm aware of that's on Switch. Or on a Nintendo console, period, is what I should say. And that's where I kind of have a hard time with this specific one, because I feel like if Nintendo decided to make all of these character decisions, I would say that Kazuya is kind of a freebie, because Bandai Namco, they probably wanted to give him something.
Sure.
But the rest of them are all represented fairly recently on Nintendo hardware. And so I keep going back to the fact that this character either is in a game that is already out on Nintendo hardware, or is a strategically positioned release that's coming out soon after.
Right. I can see that.
Agreed.
All right. Next up is Akil P, saying Phoenix Wright. And this is a popular one, I feel.
No objections here.
Yeah.
Oh.
I would be thrilled if this happened. Absolutely thrilled.
Yeah.
It would be... Well, I haven't played the games, but they are all available on Switch. So, I mean, he clears that bar easily.
I mean, he's associated with Nintendo because they originally came out on Game Boy Advance and then the DS.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. And, and the series is having kind of a not renaissance. It's never stopped being popular, but it's having a new moment of, like, attention and relevance, thanks to the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles having just come out. So it would certainly make some degree of sense, and he's an incredibly popular pick. I would say he's one of the more popular third-party requests, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I agree with all of that. I think that... and we know that he can have an effective fighting game moveset, because we've seen him in Marvel vs. Capcom.
Right.
So it's interesting to me. Like, I look at him in Smash, he'd be one of the most unique characters, too. He'd have a unique gimmick of his own.
Which Sakurai does like with these new characters.
Yeah. He is probably, of all the predictions or all the hopes that we've heard so far, the one I think is most likely to get in.
I agree with
that. Has probably the best chance of what everybody said. I'd say the two that have the next best chances are probably the SMT5 Protagonist and Master Chief, personally. But
yeah, I'm probably 50-50 on whether it's the SMT5 Protagonist or Phoenix Wright. I mean, to me, in my personal, and there are no rules when it comes to Smash, but in my mind, I imagine that the SMT5 Protagonist is probably more strategic for Nintendo, and it would be if the decision was driven solely by, like, potential to earn money off of a character coming into Smash, I would say that SMT5 Protag probably helps Nintendo's long-term prospects with the sales of SMT5 out, because if I remember correctly, they're locked into a publishing deal, I think, on SMT5. But Phoenix Wright is one that if they're more looking towards what would please fans, right? Please existing fans, I would say Phoenix Wright takes it.
I agree. Yeah. And we also know that Capcom is perfectly happy and willing to have their characters appear in Smash between, Mega Man and Ryu and Ken and Guile's an assist trophy, and there's no issue there. And yeah, he would be incredibly popular choice, I think, and I would be so happy. Even if it wasn't Sora, that's okay, sucks it's not Sora, but Phoenix Wright would be such a good, like, other character that isn't Sora for me. I'd be so happy. I
mean, I have an insider source, and I put up 4 long shot games in there, and my source went between Sora, or Phoenix Wright, and Kai ultimately chose Phoenix Wright. I mean, this baby knows what he's talking about. So
nice.
Well,
you had me going there for a second. I was like, what's he talking about? Nice.
GVG sons have a proven track record of predicting Nintendo stuff.
That is true. That your son got Dragon Ball. We'll see if mine can get Phoenix Wright. That'd be amazing. I kind of hope for it just because of that. But one that seems a bit more likely. It's non-specific, but both Hubie and Top Dog 23100 have suggested a Gen 8 Pokemon. This feels possible.
Yeah, that is like my second worst scenario for me personally. I know I'd be happy for Pokemon fans. I don't hate Pokemon. I just think there were already enough of them in the roster, and Gen 8 is already pretty unpopular, it seems like, with the fan base, so I just feel like it wouldn't make a lot of people happy for it to be a Gen 8 Pokemon. But I could see it happening. I think there's a pretty decent chance of that being the case. It would be such a tone-deaf way, I think, for Nintendo to end off the Smash Ultimate character announcements for a lot of people. Not everybody. There are some Gen 8 Pokemon fans out there, but I just feel like if they were going to do that, it should have been in the middle of the pack, not the very last one.
I agree that if it's a Gen 8 Pokemon, I would prefer that it not have been placed as the final character because of the ridiculous level of hopes and expectations that people are going to put on the reveal. But I'm gonna agree with Top Dog that I would be happy if we got a Gen 8 Pokemon specifically, and this is gonna be my most basic bitch moment here, but I would love it if we got Cinderace. I love him. I love Scorbunny. I love all his evolutions. That was my main Pokemon in Sword and Shield. I would be happy if I had him, especially because I find Incineroar to be incredibly disappointing. But I get that most people would not feel the way I feel.
I said it before, but the only character I think that would generally be accepted and kind of loved by fans is, and it's not even a Gen 8 Pokemon, it's Gen 7, Zeraora, this electric Pokemon that people have just really enjoyed as a mythical. I don't think Zarude, the mythical Pokemon from Gen 8, is as popular. And I'm looking at some of the other Pokemon. It's just nothing standing out to me as this, breakaway Pokemon other than Cinderace. And some people put forth Rillaboom because we haven't got a grass starter yet, but I don't know if that matters. I think it comes down to pure popularity. So I don't know. If I had to choose between a new Pokemon character, I'd say Zeraora or Cinderace. I think those are the most likely.
What about Toxtricity? Because I see Toxtricity put forth quite a bit.
Toxtricity is up there as well. That's true.
Yeah, I think if it was going to be a Gen 8 Pokemon, and speaking as someone who hasn't played Gen 8, Toxtricity, to me, just design-wise, is the coolest of all the ones that have been put forth in this discussion for me personally. So even though I really don't want it to be a Gen 8 Pokemon, Toxtricity for me, I think, would be the best possible, I guess, selection of the really popular choices for me. So I do think there's a decent chance that this is what ends up happening, though. I just wish if it is, I really wish they would have had it happen in the middle of the pack and not as the very last character.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Although I will say, I do agree that Zeraora is really cool looking, and I would not be at all upset if we ended up getting them. I think, I know you like Toxtricity. For me, Zeraora is a cooler looking Pokemon, but I also like the loud yellow look.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I guess there's also maybe at one point against it being a Gen 8 Pokemon is Gen 8's time in the sun is kind of over. I mean, now they're really focused on Gen 4 remakes and Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Oh man!
And so
what if it's Cleaver?
Right? Cleaver. Yeah.
See, I would see Cleaver as being more of a boss character, just because that's how they're positioning it in game.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Top Dog, I will be really happy for you if that Top Dog and Hubie, even though it's not what I want, I'll be really happy for you if that's what ends up happening. So we'll see.
Yep. All right. Next up, from Alex Garcia Gonzalez, Reimu from Toho, and that feels like a major long shot.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening at all. I know she is a popular character, but at least relatively popular in terms of I see her name come up a lot in terms of just like requests, but I just don't see it actually being viable.
Same.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I feel like Toho is a franchise that is definitely quite popular, but I don't think it's reached the point of having a Smash rep. I mean, especially when you consider all of the other indies that we talked about earlier that didn't manage to make the cut. If you want to talk about recognizable indies, I would put Shovel Knight. You know, Shovel Knight only got an assist trophy.
Yeah.
And if Shovel Knight doesn't warrant having a character in Smash, then I think only your really well-funded top-tier indies are really going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. And I think the same argument applies to Alex's other suggestion of Beatrice from Umineko When They Cry. Not something I'm very familiar with, but I just don't see that happening.
The thing that Toho has going for it is that it has legacy. It has 31 games. It has all kinds of other aspects that's been done with it. There's a lot out there, which is why it's built up a bit of a fan base, but it's still sort of unknown to the general public, and I don't see that changing. That said, I love Reimu's design. A Shrine Maiden in Smash, that'd be cool. I'd be down.
It would be, yeah.
But no, I just don't see it.
Yeah. Same.
Continuing on, we have Colin's pick of Ayumi Tachibana from Famicom Detective Club. And you two are much more familiar with her.
As much as I want this, Ayumi's a badass. She would have a great fighting style. She's an expert with a Naginata. She would be cool. She would be absolutely cool and someone that I would support 1,000% being in Smash because of the fact that it's an obscure franchise. It's first party. It until recently was long ignored. It would scratch that same itch, that I have for Takamaru to actually be in Smash. But I feel like Famicom Detective Club kind of came and went, and it didn't really make the splash that it would need to make to have a Smash rep. Yeah, I just don't see Nintendo thinking like, oh man, we're going to sell so many copies of Famicom Detective Club if we put Ayumi in Smash. As much as I'd like her, because she's a very unique character in Nintendo's long and storied history, I just don't see her having the pull.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you just said. I think she's one of the very few remaining first-party reps that I get really excited about, just because she is a really unique character. I've long said I would love to have a Naginata user in Smash. I used to say Impa from Hyrule Warriors, but that didn't happen, and I think Ayumi would be a even cooler, deeper cut that kind of scratches that same itch as like Duck Hunt or Mr. Game & Watch, something really just out of left field from Nintendo's more obscure parts of their history, but I just don't think she has enough pull. And I would be a little salty only because as cool as Ayumi would be, her getting in before a Rhythm Heaven character would make me really sad. So there's that too. It's like, man, I would say she's even more obscure than Rhythm Heaven, and so I'm like, oh, come on, Rhythm Heaven character. But I like the idea, and I think she'd be really cool. I would not be opposed to her being in Smash, and if that's what it ended up being, then I'd be like, okay, that's a pretty neat, deep cut for Nintendo's final character.
Yep. I pretty much just echo you guys. I don't have the familiarity with her, but she'd be cool. Let's go ahead and continue on because we're actually getting close to the end of our time here. And next up is Nastasia Smith with a suggestion.
Natasha Smith.
Natasha Smith.
Natasha.
I'm so sorry
also
about that.
Also known as Sci-Fi Lullabies.
Sci-Fi Lullabies. With a suggestion of Spyro. And I'd be down, but I can't see Spyro getting in over Crash.
That's kind of where I'm at with it. I feel like if it was going to be Spyro or Crash, it would be Crash pretty much every time, even though I personally would prefer Spyro. I don't see Spyro being in line before Crash, and that's just kind of where I'm at on that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ash. As much as I personally would prefer Spyro, I think he's a more interesting character, would have a better moveset. I feel like Crash has more recognition and would probably end up being in it. Also, you could do something pretty funny with Crash and the old trash talking commercials that he used to do.
Oh yeah,
that's true.
But yeah, it would definitely be. I feel like Spyro would be a great pick. I just don't see Spyro or Crash, for that matter, happening.
Not anymore. No.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and where Crash is concerned, by the way, not because of everything going on with Activision Blizzard. As I've said before, there would have been no way for Nintendo to know that all that shit was going to happen when they were negotiating these characters.
If it happened,
Crash is impossible,
there's nothing Nintendo can really do about it.
Exactly, and I don't think Crash is impossible, but I don't really see him as being very likely at this point either. I think kind of the window of opportunity there has passed for Crash, and if that's true of Crash, I definitely think that's true of Spyro.
Yeah. Well, the last character we can really talk about in any kind of depth before we have to sort of rapid fire this is from Jesse M, Kitty Kong Facts, suggesting Dixie Kong, especially if they can get a Kitty Kong partner pair-ups for some of their moves.
I would be
this is a good
perfectly
choice.
happy with this. Yeah, I've long said that Dixie Kong is, to me, has felt like a real hole in the Smash roster. I really think she has long deserved to be in Smash. And I think the fact that she isn't is kind of, it just sucks. I think she should be here. And I would be really happy if she, I wish she wasn't the final character. I would have preferred to get her just as one of these reveals throughout the whole hype train process and not actually necessarily be the final character. But I can't lie. I'd be very happy if it was Dixie Kong.
I mean, it's rare for Final Smash characters to be the most hype one. I'll just say that right now. It's not impossible. It depends on who you are.
It's true.
But it doesn't happen too often. And with Dixie, Dixie to me is would be the cornerstone of showing just how important Rare was to Nintendo's lineup. The fact that they get sensibly 3 characters in there. If they got Diddy, Dixie, 4. Diddy, Dixie, K. Rool, and the Banjo. What's that say about Rare's legacy and the characters they've created? That's amazing. And Dixie would just be fun.
Yeah.
She cannot be just an echo of Diddy. She would have to have something different, and that'd be fun to see.
Yeah, agreed.
Maybe I'm way out of touch here, but
maybe.
Well, Diddy joined in Brawl, I think.
Correct.
Yes.
And I think the only reason that Diddy himself is in there is because DKC wasn't that far in the rear view back then. I feel like this is... I just don't see Dixie happening. I agree that she'd be cool. I just don't see Nintendo going back to the well for a 4th time on these characters and picking someone new up. I feel like that would be a really weird way to close out Smash.
I agree.
To pick a character that hasn't seen a new game on Nintendo hardware in decades. And
we already got K. Rool.
Yeah.
And K. Rool was, yeah.
I feel like K. Rool was far more interesting of a pick. And I don't see them going back to the DKC well for their final reveal. I think it's somebody that should have been in the roster, but not somebody that I think will be in the roster.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. Well, real quick, just about the finish off the other suggestions that have popped up in here from our patrons. Jeff Ed saying Neku, just from The World Ends With You, just a quick rapid fire. Honestly, be cool. Not going to happen.
Yeah.
It would be cool, but it's not going to happen for the same reason 2B is not going to happen. It's just because Sora would be first in line, I think, for another Square Enix rep. And even he's pretty unlikely, I think. Yeah. Very unlikely.
Kotar Peck, Eggman. Man of taste, but
there you go.
at least we got a chance to talk a little bit about Eggman's chances and possibilities. Joseph Bayer with one of 2 suggestions. First up is a Chozo Warrior from Metroid Dread, which at least has a moveset unlike that's not bad. I like that idea to have that aspect of Metroid represented in that. So even the Chozo General from Dread would be kind of cool. So I don't think it's going to happen, but I love the idea.
Yeah, I do want to call out Joseph's other suggestion of Bub, though.
I had that in here as well. Bub from Bubble Bobble.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I just love that idea. I don't see it happening, but having a Taito rep, it would have to be Bub if it was going to be any Taito rep, and I think that would be such a cool, really deep cut, but I don't see it happening.
Mm-hmm. And finally, Goron Amber with Doom Guy.
Oh, man.
That's a big one. Yeah.
But as much as I want Doom Guy, I got to stick to the Crash argument here. I feel like his window has closed.
Yeah.
I think so too. I think there was a chance there for a while that it could have been him, but I just don't see it really happening. And I personally wouldn't be that hyped for it, but I know there are a lot of Doom fans out there who would be. So I also like Amber's other random suggestion of Chunky Kong because
Yeah.
I know it came from a dream, but I just love how random that is. Just to I was going to say something earlier just to clean up a couple of things. I know Hubie said Shantae and Travis, they're both Mii Fighter costumes. I think that nixes them alone. I think that's just, unfortunately, that's just their time is past for Smash. And then Blaze Star25, just want to say quick shout out. You said Amaterasu, Ami. I would be so happy, but Phoenix Wright, I think, would come way in line before Ami.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
Yep. But yes, with that, I think that covers it for our Super Smash Bros. Ultimate final DLC character prediction, or I guess likelihood discussion. I mean, this is your predictions. We're just saying how likely we think it's going to happen. We could be proven right. We could be proven wrong. It's all up to Sakurai at this point, and we'll find out on October 5th when we all react to it live and check out that presentation and see what this new character is going to be all about and when they do come out. So thank you for watching. And if you enjoyed this video, please consider supporting us over on Patreon at patreon.com/gvgaming. But even just subscribing to the channel and ringing that bell helps us a ton. So thank you for listening. And until next time, bye.